So here we are in the front of the garden. You see the fantastic Wisteria in full abundance of flower. It's been a particularly good year for Wisteria this year. This one has been in for probably about 20 years now, and what we try and do is to train it so as you have maybe one or two really good long lengths, so as then the pendular sort of effect of the Wisteria can flow down to the ground. But the bees absolutely love it, as you can hear them. It's really is a fantastic scent at the moment. But this one, as I say, has been in for about 20 years. But sometimes you get a bad one, and usually if they don't flower within, say, 2 years, it may be that you've got a bad one. Or quite often people actually prune them incorrectly, and they quite often cut off these flower buds. About a couple of weeks ago, the buds looked more like this, where they were quite plump, and then suddenly, miraculously, those buds open up into these fantastic flowers, and then once the flowers go over, the leaves will then take over. But what we put this here really because we didn't like this, particularly the brown brickwork, and I'm sure you will possibly agree with me that it doesn't look that exciting, but this is a nice backdrop. And as I say, once the flowers go over, the leaves you see here are starting now to come through, and they'll take over from the flowers, and then that will cover up most of this wall. Quite often Wisteria will put on perhaps 12 or maybe even 20 feet of runners, which you probably don't necessarily want. So you can cut the ones you don't want, back to the base of the plant, and then tie in whichever ones you do want. But this is the time to enjoy it in the full sun in the spring. But the hard work is done. Christmas week is quite a good time, apparently, according to gardeners in big country houses. Whether they just say that to me to try and get me, shut me up, but they suggest if you're doing nothing better on Christmas week to prune the Wisterias then. But I quite often do it, quite often into January and February, even if the weather's quite mild, and we'll show pruning in the winter because it's very difficult to, now it's in full flower, to see what's going on. But enjoy, and if it doesn't flower, it either means after 2 years you've got a dodgy plant, or you're perhaps cutting off all the flowering buds by mistake, and that is a very common error.